This recording is for the Level 2 Sports Turf Operative qualification for Lantra within the UK, and this is based around the professional discussion which you will need to complete at the end of your EPA. Professional discussion will be under controlled conditions, and it is an in-depth two-way discussion between both yourself and the IEPA, who is the assessor. You will have 2 days for your assessment, and this will be carried out on the second day after your practical assessments as well. It will involve questions that will focus on particular scenarios and cover a lot of the stuff that you've already learned prior to the EPA, or the activities or the problem solving, for example. As an apprentice, you can also use your portfolio during this professional discussion time. You can use it to help you to respond to questions, promote discussions, and evidence your level of development across the course. You will have completed your mandatory portfolio evidencing, so whether this is answering your assignments, uploading pictures and videos, wearing various PPE, carrying out tasks, or even any sort of written assignments that you've completed, perhaps on a particular project that you've completed. This does also include your journal entries, although those won't be mapped to those knowledge, skills, and behaviours criteria. The professional discussion does go into a little bit more detail than anything else that you might have been doing during the day, but also won't be anything out of the ordinary, and is all detailed within the EPA handbook, but also within the work that you will have been assigned and been set during the duration of the course. The duration of the discussion will be a minimum of 60 minutes. You can have an additional 10 minutes if you do request this in advance, if you feel you need that time to answer the questions. It does consist of 2 parts. So part 1 will take place in a room free of any distractions, and part 2 will take place alongside the facility walk with the IEPA. Travel between the locations will not count towards the total duration. The clock will be stopped while transporting between sites. The IEPA will select the questions from a question bank based on their appraisal of the portfolio. So if they see knowledge gaps in particular, they might actually then pick on those particular knowledge gaps to ensure that you have met all of those knowledge, skills, and behaviours to pass the test. There's going to be a minimum of 1 question per knowledge, skill, behaviour topic area, and there'll be a total of 12 questions, which we'll go through in a second. You may be asked appropriate follow-up questions that need to confirm your knowledge, skills, and behaviours as well, so just be prepared for anything like that. It'll be based similar around the original questions, so you might in fact end up having 15 questions, but 3 of those questions were just to ensure that you got the correct answer for those questions. The IEPA will in particular ask questions that refer to evidence in your portfolio. So for example, as I mentioned, you might be having a picture wearing the PPE, and they might say, what is that PPE? Why are you using it? Is it in safe working order? And the various health and safety regulations which may accompany with that as well. So as I mentioned, part 1 will be in a room with the EPA, and part 2, which will be slightly longer. So part 2 is 40 minutes, part 1 is 20 minutes. Part 2 will then be a site walk essentially, but it won't be a walk of the whole entire site. You might just cover particular areas. Sports turf pitches being a good example, washdown bays, and potentially within the ground sheds or the greenkeeping sheds, because they have a lot of machinery around and a lot of things going on. There's a lot of questions that can be asked in those areas. I'm going to go through all of the areas that you're going to be asked questions in. These aren't the actual questions, but they're areas which you're going to be asked questions on. So, for example, maintenance and renovations or repairs. This will have a minimum of 4 questions, and they'll be based around these topics on the screen at the moment. K16, maintenance and operations required to ensure the quality of sports turf surfaces. K17, operations and maintenance techniques required for general day-to-day maintenance of sports turf surfaces. K18, operations and techniques required to repair sports turf surfaces. S6, prepare the ground and establish grass seed for part of sports turf renovation tasks. So, for example, overseeding and turfing. S8, carry out and repair sports turf surfaces using the relevant equipment and machinery. So, divot repairs, foothold repairs, animal damage. S11, adapts in a systematic approach to troubleshooting and solving problems that occur day to day with a various resource or an equipment issue. S13, carry out maintenance of a sports turf surface using the relevant equipment machinery, including scarification and aeration. S14, dispose of waste in a safe and sustainable manner. B2, be flexible and have a positive work attitude. Questions that you're going to be asked around sports turf health and condition. You're going to be asked 2 of these questions. Again, not the actual questions, but there'll be topics on these areas. So K13, methods to assess the condition of a sports turf surface. So we're including thatch content, root depth, uniformity, cover, weeds, pests, disorders, any sort of damage content, for example. S5, inspect the condition of sports turf, make observations and communicate findings. So use of the performance quality standards, so weeds, pests, diseases, thatch contents again. S10, select and use relevant communication styles. So, for example, written, verbal, or digital to convey information to different audiences. So this can be clients, this can be members of the staff, this could be suppliers. B6, team focused and work effectively with colleagues and others. Irrigation and drainage will be in the next area, again with another 2 questions. The principles, K14, the principles of sports turf drainage and irrigation systems, including layouts, components, and basic maintenance. S4, maintain levels of soil moisture using either irrigation or drainage systems. B3, take ownership of your work. And B4, committed to keeping up to date with industry's best practice. Your last and final topic area will be grass types. So this again will be 2 questions in this area. So common names, K6, common names of turf grasses. So vegetative and seeds, including perennial ryegrass, smooth stalk, meadowgrass, annual meadowgrass, fescue grasses, in particular fine fescue and bent grass. S12, identify a range of turf grasses. Again, those 5 will come up. As with the rest of the test, you need to achieve a minimum of a pass to pass the course overall, but you can also achieve a merit and distinction based on your answers. We've spoke a bit about the portfolio work. This must all be completed before the EPA actually takes place. So this will be carried out through your duration of your apprenticeship. Must contain all of the relevant information for those KSBs, and then your professional discussion will essentially then top that up and ensure that those things that are in your portfolio you are aware of and understand. And that is pretty much all for the professional discussion. It's not too difficult and nothing you should be expecting to throw you off. It's everything that you will have learned or know about during the duration of the apprenticeship. So just take your time, revise, go back through things, have a look at the various knowledge, skills and behaviours, make yourself familiar with each one of them. For example, we've got one here, explain how they prepare ground and establish grass areas as part of renovation tasks to improve quality and sustainability. So S6, you should be reading these, you should be aware of these. These will all be individual topics during your lessons. So if you're unsure of anything before you get to the EPA, then make sure that you make your lecturer aware, and you can then work on, revise, practice, potentially do some practice quizzes to help you try and build up that knowledge base or retain that information.